A beautiful Tuesday morning, and thank you so very much for being here with us, Sunrisers. Wherever you are in the world, we've got you covered. Good morning to our Sunrisers in the United States of America, and of course to everybody watching in the UK as well, and the Caribbean. Thank you so very much. And of course, the Sunrisers are yard, you know what I mean?
Right here.
No, we're no better than yard. Good morning to you. Now, less than a week after assuming office, President Donald Trump launched a comprehensive initiative aimed at addressing undocumented migration in the United States. And so, our next guest, immigration lawyer Marshawn Young, decided that he wanted to continue a career in law and immigration to help Jamaicans and others navigate the complex immigration system and provide effective representation for those with challenging immigration issues. Marshawn, good morning to you and welcome to Sunrise. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning, Denise. Dennis, good morning, Miss Kitty. Good morning, Jamaica and the rest of the world.
All right, Marshawn, you're a little low, so we're going to have, Master turn you up a little bit because I want to make sure that our listeners and our viewers can hear you clearly, right? But let me just start with, how long have you been an immigration attorney at law?
I've been doing this for 3 years.
Okay, very well.
Right, excellent.
And when Donald Trump, a lot of people are, especially immigrants, are really afraid at this moment because of some of the executive orders that he would have signed since taking office. They're not yet law, but can you just talk to us about what do these executive orders really mean?
All right, so we have seen that President Trump signed numerous executive orders last week, several of which affects immigration. We have the increase in border security, reversal of DACA, changes to work visas, H-1B, H-2B, reinstating the public charge rule, ending birthright citizenship, cuts to refugee and immigration admission, expansion of deportations and crackdown on sanctuary cities, mass deportation, and somewhat limitation on family-based immigration. So those are some of the impacts that you will have on the Caribbean.
And each of them, in their own right, could be a whole discussion, given the wide-ranging relevance. Let's look firstly at the border, because he did say in the campaign that he would strengthen the border, not taking a moral position on it. Let's just look at what this means, because a state of emergency being declared at the border, many people would suggest that it's become a free-for-all on the southern border. What does this now mean, especially several Jamaicans using it as an avenue into the United States on a permanent basis? What does this now mean for them?
Harsher restrictions and increase in uncertainty, because as you know, we have asylum seekers there. We have the CBP app, which allow persons to stay outside the border and come in whenever they have their appointment or they have immigration court. No, he has suspended CBP app. So there are people out there who have their appointments canceled. So asylum seekers, persons who wish to come here enter will with real fear. No, it's harder for them to come through the border.
So, Marshawn, he has signed the executive orders, but what is the process? Because many states have started to, file lawsuits against such orders, and a lot of that is going on now. It is not yet enacted into law, but what is the process and how long will it take? Is it much ado about nothing? So Trump comes and says, with the stroke of a pen, I'm going to send home everybody. Is it that easy, though, to send home immigrants, or is there a process? And if so, what is that process?
There is a process, but that process is being violated, and that's why we are having litigation talks. Because right now I have clients who are detained, and we're getting ready to file suits in federal court because their Fourth Amendment rights are being violated. And some of them have immigration court. They can't go to immigration court. They're just being put on planes and sent back home. And this is real.
Okay, so is there anything that anybody listening to, because you know immigration affects us here in Jamaica, because many of us would have family members there, children, you know what I mean, and many Jamaicans and other Caribbean islands, Caribbean nationals are there. What would be your word of advice? Because I was watching CNN, and you know, word on the street is that you know there are immigration officers, ICE, who are just picking up people, you know, arresting people or detaining people rather. What is it that you do if, say, for example, an ICE officer comes up and wants to check your papers or wants to check your documents? Do I have to yield? Do I have to give them anything? Or do I say, sir, please, can you leave me alone? How should I treat with this situation?
All right, sadly, we've seen an executive order signed where police officers, militaries, they have been given the rights just as ICE agents. So whenever you are approached by a law enforcement, not just ICE, police officers as well, both citizens and non-citizens, they have their Fourth Amendment right and they have their Fifth Amendment right. Plead your fifth. You do not have to speak to them. You don't have to give them any documentation. You don't have to answer any questions. Just let them know that you want to speak to a lawyer. And if you're represented by a lawyer, ask to speak with your lawyer. Do not, as I said, do not sign any paper because you might be signing your deportation order without you knowing.
Wow.
So those are your fifth constitutional rights that you should plead. For those who, you know, have undocumented persons living with them, or undocumented persons, if you're at your apartment or you're at your house, you don't have to open your door. You have your Fourth Amendment right. Ask for a warrant, ask them to insert the warrant inside the house. If it's not signed by a judge, you don't have to open your door.
Okay. What about parents who have their undocumented children in school, because they're also going to schools and they're removing children? True.
All right. What we've been advising, and we're trying to prepare safety packages for especially young ones, minors who are in school. What I can tell you, if you do have something in the system with USCIS or immigration court, walk around with your documents. Give those children documents as well. They should have their IDs as well. If your lawyer give you a G28, have that G28.
So that's like applicable to persons who are being filed for, or you're upon filing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so walk with your documents.
So, yes, for the record, if you are being filed for, have copies of your documents on your person, you're saying?
At all times.
At all times. Marshawn, quickly, the 14th Amendment right that many persons enjoy in terms of birthright citizenship, that is also in executive order right now, that Mr. Trump wants to stop that. If it is that your father is not a U.S. citizen or resident, being born in America now doesn't mean you're automatically a citizen. Talk to me about where that is. It's still an executive order, not yet in law. Again, when are we expecting these things to be made into law, if it will at all, and what is the process?
All right, so we're looking at the birthright citizenship to go into effect in February. But the good thing is this, and thank God for good judges. You've seen if there's no injury, no violation, then you know we can't litigate. So it's before the courts right now. So the status quo has been retained. So regardless of how a child born right now, they're still they are considered U.S. citizen until the judge finally makes a decision on what's the future of birthright citizenship. Because
that would be the Supreme Court.
Yes, it's constitutional. You're violating the Constitution.
And even so, they would have to grandfather the legislation so that it applies backward.
Yes, and we have to have constitutional reform.
Marshawn, persons I know right now are very scared. They're very afraid.
And I must say there's a lot of misinformation, because you have persons running up and down. I know of persons who are afraid to go to work because they're afraid that they'll be hauled off a train or hauled off a bus. Speak to those persons and where those persons can get
the correct
information or speak to someone like you.
And you're right, you're correct in that, because yesterday I have clients who are sending me videos and ask me, is this real? And I looked at the source and I said, what is the source? TikTok. People just saying stuff. So my advice to you is stay connected to real news sources.
Reputable.
Your BBC, reputable news sources, CVM, TVJ. Stay connected to those. Also, stay connected to USCIS website, the Immigration Court website. Also, there are non-profit organizations, there are legal clinics that are across the nations, there are pro bono attorneys that are across the nations. If you don't have Google, get Google. Google is your best friend. Look for those non-profit organizations that are within your zone.
All right.
Very well. Thank you
very
so much, Marshawn. Have a great afternoon. Totally discombobulated. But yeah, thank you, Marshawn.
You're welcome.
Marshawn Young is an immigration attorney. Stay with us. It's now time for another break. TK is going to take over for the morning news.